Here are the top stories for today, October 9, 2019. Malacanang does not consider the glitches in the country's train systems as a mass transport crisis. Malacanang justifies the purchase of a 2 billion peso aircraft. 3 NPA members are captured in Las Navas, northern Samar. And Bulacan hosted Lechon Festival to allay the ASF scare. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story for today, despite glitches in 3 of the country's train systems, Malacanang on Tuesday said it does not consider this a mass transport crisis. According to presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo, the train system no longer suffers from regular glitches and that commuters should go earlier if they want to arrive early in their destinations. Panelo rebutted Bayan Secretary General Renato Reyes' claim that Metro Manila is facing a mass transport crisis after the LRT-1, 2, and MRT-3 all experienced technical issues that disrupted operations. Reyes said the most serious situation now is repairs in the LRT-2 Santolan to Anona stations, which will require around 9 months.
Ano bang ibig nila sabihin ng transportation crisis? Ang nakikita ko lang traffic, hindi yung transport na yan. May transportation naman. Kakasakay naman tayo lahat. Nakakarating pa naman yung mga dapat makarating sa kanilang papuntahan. Nabasa ko yung paliwanag niya, dati-dati halos araw-araw, nagbabag daw. Ngayon daw once a week na lang. So may laki daw improvement.
And that's good, once a week na lang.
Aba kung araw-araw tapos ngayon once a week, di laki nga improvement.
Meanwhile, the House Committee on Transportation has called for an emergency meeting on Wednesday with all stakeholders in the transport sector. Samar 1st District Representative Edgar Mary Sarmiento said the meeting aims to find the quickest, most doable, and most practical solution to ease the crisis caused by the LRT-2 operations and the ongoing repairs of South Luzon Expressway. He said the government needs to address the situation as early as possible because the traffic problem is expected to get even worse with the onset of the holiday season. Malacanang says there is nothing wrong with the purchase of a 2 billion peso aircraft from the United States. Panelo said the plane will primarily serve as a platform to carry senior leaders and commanders. He sees it as a necessity in times of crisis and not as comfort. Panelo expressed hope that the aircraft purchase could be the start of fairer deals between the Philippines and the United States.
Hindi naman comfort yun. Comfortable ba yun? Times of crisis, di kailangan mo yun. Kaya nga crisis Then there is necessity. Kung necessity, paano naman magwawaldas ka? Si Presidente pa, hindi pa si Presidente napaka-frugal. He doesn't spend unless necessary.
Malacanang on Tuesday said that President Rodrigo Duterte will not interfere in the decision of Presidential Electoral Tribunal on the poll protest filed by former Senator Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos against Vice President Leonor Leni Robredo. The Supreme Court sitting as pet has reset the voting on the election protest after it did not take any action on the case during Tuesday's tribunal session. Panelo said the president will not intrude into the competence and the authority of the PET and that Duterte will enforce the law and respect whatever the decision the PET arrives at.
Again, we will not intrude into the competence and the authority of the Vice Presidential Electoral Tribunal.
PET, sir, presidential.
Presidential Electoral Tribunal. It has to decide on its own, on the basis of what is required by law and the evidence. The president is always on the side of the law. Whatever the law says, he should enforce it.
President Rodrigo Duterte wants the next Philippine National Police Chief to be honest, competent, and free from irregularities. Duterte is said to be selecting from 4 candidates but will keep to himself for the meantime. Duterte earlier said he would be more careful in selecting the next PNP to avoid stumbling again. According to Panelo, he did not know if Duterte was referring to PNP Chief General Oscar Albayalde, who is accused of involvement in the illegal drug trade. He said he would ask the president to clarify what he meant.
Hindi ko alam kung anong ibig sabihin, as I said earlier.
Pero do you agree?
Basta he will decide on the basis of competence and honesty. If you're honest, ibig sabihin wala kang kaso relative to any irregularity. Pag competent ka, ibig sabihin magaling ka sa trabaho mo.
PDEA seized 15 kilos of shabu worth 102 million pesos in Quezon City. And 2 Chinese nationals are arrested for bribery. More on this from Janice Cabe.
2 Chinese nationals were arrested for trying to bribe police officers in exchange for the release of POGO workers. These POGO workers were earlier arrested in a prostitution den in Makati City. The 2 suspects, Zhang Shiquang and Fan Zhanping, offered 1.7 million pesos to the police to persuade them against filing any charges. This prompted the police officers to arrest them. In other news, authorities seized 15 kilos of suspected shabu in a buy-bust operation at the Quezon City Memorial Circle. PDEA NCR director identified the suspect as Hong Bo He, a businessman and resident of Mariveles, Bataan. Plaza said the suspect has been under surveillance for almost 3 weeks and appears to be a member of a Chinese international drug syndicate. The suspect is facing criminal charges for sale of dangerous drugs and illegal possession of dangerous drugs. Meanwhile, the Department of Foreign Affairs advises overseas Filipinos to familiarize themselves with the new Saudi Arabia regulation to avoid violations and penalties. The new Saudi policy on public decency includes rules on immodest clothing, public display of affection, taking photos or videos of people without permission, playing music at prayer times, among others. The penalties for offenders range from 100 to 6,000 Saudi riyals, or equivalent to 1,380 to 83,000 pesos. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Still to come, 3 NPA members are captured in Las Navas, northern Samar. And UN Habitat will start the construction of the first 500 permanent housing in Marawi. These and more when we return.
First, I would like to thank President Putin and the Russian government and the people of Russia for being so nice at hindi kayo pinaghirapan. Do not do anything that will jeopardize the relation at maging masama ang tingin nila sa atin. Obey the laws, follow the procedure. Total, we are working on a sort of agreement na mabigyan kayo ng maluwang na you would be allowed to stay.
The Chief of National Task Force and Local Communist Armed Conflict, Major General Antonio Parlade Jr., hailed the closure of 55 salugpungan schools in the Davao region. Parlade said it is the appropriate thing to do, knowing that it is destroying the indigenous children. Parlade also slammed the ranking officials of these so-called salugpungan schools for not telling the public that many of the alternative learning centers are located near DepEd schools and that their real goal is not to educate these indigenous peoples, but to radicalize those unlucky enough to fall into their trap and ensure the continuous flow of foreign donations to their coffers. DepEd 11 announced on Tuesday the total closure of the 55 Salugpungan schools in the Davao region after they found substantial evidence of irregularities against it. The Philippines' power and tourism sectors are among those that will benefit from the trip of President Rodrigo Duterte in Russia last October 1st to October 5. Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III explains that potential investments from the recent foreign trip of the chief executive are quite significant. He said the trip opened the avenues for increased contact with Russians like tourism investments. Dominguez said possible investments in the power sector include those for power distribution and generation, as well as for renewable energy. The president, in his fourth State of the Nation address last July, pushed for the fast-tracking of renewable energy resources in a bid to lessen the country's dependence on traditional sources like coal. The Department of Energy targets to increase the share of RE on total power source to about 35% by 2030 under the Renewable Energy Act of 2008. Government troops have captured 3 members of the New People's Army who were involved in extortion activities in businesses in northern Samar. More on this from Sol Alarcon.
Elements of the 20th Infantry Battalion of the Philippine Army apprehended 3 NPA members while responding to reports of New People's Army's extortion in Barangay Quirino, San Francisco, and San Miguel at Las Navas town in northern Samar. The captured NPAs were identified as Ray Christian Sabado, alias Nads, alias Chan Chan, Antonio Mañoso, alias Tito, and Edwin Pixon, alias Bunay, who were carrying firearms, explosives, and subversive documents. These subversive documents contain information that link NPA with a repressive organization like Katungod, Sinirangan, Visayas, Karapatan. They also contain a list of business establishments as their source target of extortion activities. Initial report coming from the 20th ID said that Chan Chan is a college student of PUP Santa Mesa, Manila, but he failed to get his degree as he was recruited by the Sandigan ng Mag-aaral para sa Sambayanan sa Masa in PUP, which makes him a full-time NPA. Per his own admission, Chan Chan participated in the attack of Giparayan Detachment, Selvino Lobos, Northern Samar last March 2017. Chan Chan was sent by the CPP from Manila to help in the propagation of white area operations in northern Samar. Meanwhile, Anton Mañoso alias Tito and Edwin Pigson alias Bunay are both members of NPA's Unit Militia from Hinagunuyan, Katubig, Northern Samar, tasked to escort Chan Chan on the way to Barangay San Francisco, Las Navas, Northern Samar. The 3 are now under the custody of the Philippine National Police. Chan Chan has this to say.
Hi Trish, nandito ako sa police station ngayon. Hindi ko alam kung kumontak na yung PAO, pero totoo yun, kung nakakontak na, nandito ako sa police station ng Northern Samar. Pakisabi na lang kila mama na nadakit pa ako ng 20th Infantry Battalion, yung sundalo dito sa Northern Samar. Yung akin na lang, huwag kayo mag-alala, okay naman ako, tinatrato naman ako ng maganda, tapos okay naman yung pag-treat sa akin ng mga sundalo sa ng mga police.
From the PNA Newsroom, this is Sol Alarcon, Philippine Information Agency, Tacloban City.
The United Nations Human Settlements Program, or UN Habitat, will start within the week the construction of the first 500 permanent housing units for families displaced in the 2017 Marawi siege. Representatives of UN Habitat, the Task Force Bangon Marawi, and the National Housing Authority led the groundbreaking in Barangay Kilala on Monday. The recipients are families living within the 6-meter easement along the Agus River and 20-meter easement in front of Lake Lanao. The housing site, to be built on a 39-hectare land acquired and developed by the NHA, will be called the Pamayanding sa Ranao Residences. 1,500 houses for displaced families will be built in various areas in the city on land provided by the NHA. The 500 units in Barangay Kilala are expected to be completed next month. The local government of Legazpi City is improving the city's slaughterhouse to make the slaughter of meat-providing animals more efficient. More on these and other news from the provinces from Teresa Montemayor.
Legazpi City Mayor Noel Rosal has appropriated 5 million pesos to improve the city's AA slaughterhouse. The amount would be used to buy equipment including a dehearing machine and scalding bath units. An average of 80 to 100 animals is slaughtered at the city's abattoir daily. The mayor also pledged another van to be used in delivering meat to the market, malls, and other meat vendors. In Cebu City, an advisory committee said they are now scouting for alternative solutions to the city's water crisis. The Cebu Water Advisory Committee said the current water shortage affecting more than 20 villages needs alternative solutions. Drip water irrigation system for certain crops, awareness on the consumption of water for animal and crop production, and building permit requirement for the installation of catchment facility are among the proposed measures. Meanwhile, the rehabilitated building of the Mati City Hall will finally be occupied within the month after Mayor Michelle Rabat lifted the suspension she earlier imposed on the project. Rabat suspended all ongoing projects of the previous administration upon her assumption on June 30, 2019. The rehabilitation of the City Hall building was undertaken under the administration of former Mayor Carlo Rabat, which costs 64.5 million pesos. In other news, Cebu City Mayor Edgardo Labella on Tuesday said the sidewalk vendors affected by road clearing operations will be allowed to go back to Collins Street through the city's night market program. This after Labella met with Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo and discussed the plight of the sidewalk vendors who lost their livelihood. According to the mayor, vendors will be allowed to sell their wares in the night market starting at 6 p.m. up to 3 to 4 a.m. the following day. The vendors should see to it that the road would be cleared of all obstructions during the day. From the PNA Newsroom, I'm Teresa Montemayor.
Up next, President Duterte will be imposing a moratorium on the construction of big commercial buildings and tree cutting in Baguio City. And Bulacan's Lechon Festival is launched to show that pork products sold in the local markets are safe to eat. We will be back after a few reminders.
I thank you for your interest to do business as we are with you on the Philippine-Russian economic relations. Russia is a priority trade and investment market for the Philippines. I am pleased to know that our economic exchanges are increasing. I am much delighted to join you in this important event aimed at further enhancing trade and investment relations between the Philippines and Russia. Your presence here is a strong vote of confidence in the Philippine economy. In closing, I say that we have made significant progress in creating a conducive environment for a robust economic engagement between our countries.
President Rodrigo Duterte will soon be issuing an executive order imposing a moratorium on the construction of big commercial buildings and tree cutting in Baguio City. Mayor Benjamin Magalong said he had talked to President Duterte about the issuance of an EO for the rehabilitation of Baguio. He expressed hope that the issuance will coincide with the approval of the 500 million peso fund component for the implementation of the moratorium. The building moratorium will initially be for 1 year and will cover only commercial buildings, excluding residential structures. The moratorium will also lead to the implementation of the policy for the provision of parking inside existing buildings to ease congestion due to illegal parking. The mayor said the building moratorium will ease additional use of the sewerage and use of water, while the tree-cutting moratorium will also help in the inventory of the actual number of trees in the city. Local officials and members of the Hog Racers Association in Pandi, Bulacan hosted on Tuesday a lechon festival to show that pork products sold in the local markets are safe to eat. Mayor Enrico Roque led a lechon boodle fight to show that eating pork in Pandi is safe as the locality is free from the African swine fever. Some 4,000 residents also partook of 120 roasted pigs given by local hog raisers here. Roque said that there are swine from Corpus Farm in Barangay Baka-Bakahan that have been tested positive for the ASF virus, but in the case of this town, it is an isolated one. Livestock raisers of Pandi President Mercy Zhu said all pigs in this town are safe for consumption as each undergo a weekly blood test. Meanwhile, Governor Daniel Fernando said the 1 to 7 to 10 quarantine protocol of the Department of Agriculture, which monitors piggeries within 1, 7, and 10 kilometer areas, are strictly implemented in several towns in Bulacan. Health ministers and senior officials of the World Health Organization Western Pacific region have agreed to prioritize the organization's work in the next 5 years. WHO Regional Director Dr. Takeshi Kasai on Monday said the Western Pacific is rapidly changing what resolutions to various health challenges must be done ahead of time. Kasai added countries must transform their health systems to help vulnerable members of the society become healthier and have productive lives. During the 70th session of the WHO Regional Committee for the Western Pacific, the committee endorsed a policy paper from Kasai and his team, which provides a strategic response to current and future health challenges in the region. The priorities contained in the paper include health security, antimicrobial resistance, non-communicable diseases and aging, climate change, reaching people and communities still affected by infectious disease, and maternal and infant mortality. Kasai also said the harmful impact of food marketing such as sugary and processed food is another concern that must be prioritized in the region. The Department of Tourism on Tuesday formally partnered with e-commerce site Guide to the Philippines in launching its official travel booking system. The booking site was introduced alongside the Philippine tourism website Philippines Travel. Tourists can choose from more than 500 best value travel products offered by DOT, accredited tourism establishments, and tour operators. Tourism Chief Bernadette Romulo Puyat highlighted the evolving trends in travel and tourism as she cited digital transformation in the innovation of tourism products and services. The booking website's introduction follows a 2016 DOT study that revealed booking sites as one of the most influential channels when a tourist considers a destination. DOT Assistant Secretary Howard Lance Uy King, meanwhile, said the system has an online library of in-depth travel guides that could help travelers plan their trip better. Accredited tourism establishments interested to join can reach out to the Tourism Congress of the Philippines. A local dance group from Kidapawan City emerged as dance champions during the October 6 World Supremacy Battleground competition held in Australia. The group endured numerous hardships to get to the international stage and see their hard work pay off. Janice Cave has the story.
A group of local dancers from Kidapawan City ruled the World Supremacy Battleground, an international group dance competition in Sydney, Australia, by bringing home the grand prize in the varsity category. The group, named Off Limits, is composed of young dancers, mostly high school students and some professionals. Each of the members received a gold medal, in addition to the group's golden trophy. Dave Cazanas, the dance group's team captain, said joining the international dance contest is very memorable for first-timers like them, especially that they reached Australia with meager pocket money. J.M. Galicame, the team manager, said a Kadapaweño, who is now a resident of Sydney, hosted the dancers' stay in Australia for free, including food. Prior to that, they had difficulty securing the team's passport and visas. Off Limits participated in all dance competitions in North Cotabato to earn funds, and even went on a radio tour to crowdfund their budget. Off Limits is a local dance group founded in 2007 in Kidapawan City, aimed to train interested students, especially those who have passion in dancing. Galicami thanked all those who extended support through financial means and prayers for their help in raising the Philippine flag in the world of dance in Australia. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Here now is the latest in our community billboard. The UP Los Baños Mathematical Sciences Society is launching the 31st Mathematical Sciences Week with the theme Smart Solutions Enhancing Risk Reduction Management to Build a More Disaster-Resilient Nation. This as an annual event of the society composed of a week-long celebration of knowledge and academic excellence slated October 14 to 18. Among the highlights is the 32nd Southern Tagalog Invitational Mathematical Challenge, which will be held on October 14 at the Mathematics Building at the UP Los Baños. This is a mathematics quiz contest for junior and senior high school students from schools in the Calabarzon and Mimaropa region. Also, the annual search for the UPLB Math Wizard will be held on October 17 at the Math Building Lecture Hall of UPLB. The winner will compete in UP Diliman for the annual nationwide search for the Math Wizard. For more information, you may contact Rojun Macalinaw, the Vice President for Scholastic Division. Typhoon Hagibis is more likely to spare the Philippines as it travels towards Japan. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center says the super typhoon is unlikely to enter deep into the Philippine area of responsibility. Hagibis was last spotted about 2,020 kilometers east of northern Luzon. In case the storm reaches the country, it will be locally known as Perla. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Malacanang does not consider the glitches in the country's train systems as a mass transport crisis. Malacanang justifies the purchase of a 2 billion peso aircraft. 3 NPA members are captured in Las Navas, northern Samar. And Bulacan hosted Lechon Festival to allay the ASF scare. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I am William Theo. Good day.